Good afternoon, folks. So, we're actually a little bit ahead in logic. We've gone through the last two chapters of material in the lectures. Chapter 8 and Chapter 10. And the Chapter 8 assignments are due November 26th by midnight, which I realize now is Thanksgiving. So I'm going to change that due date. And what I want to do is talk a little bit about the specific assignments. If anyone has questions on any specific assignment today, go ahead and post it in the chat and we'll start with that. If not, I'm going to start with taking a look at the Chapter 8 assignments, and if we have time, start looking at the Chapter 10 assignments, just to give you guys kind of a head start or a push in the right direction. But I want to change these due dates away from Thanksgiving. Okay. It's Chapter 8. Double number and arithmetic functions. So let's change that to December 3rd. No one's going to complain about an extra week, right? And then the Chapter 10 assignments. Will have to be, let's see, December, we'll go 16th. That gives me time to grade them before the final grades are due. All right. Hey Alex, hey Charlie, thank you for showing up today. Let me open my phone so I can get the chat up. Oh well, I lost it, so I'll find it later. Alright, so does anyone have any questions on maybe the Chapter 7 or Chapter 6 assignments? Let's see. Get updated. I know a lot of people were having problems with the Chapter 6, and people have been contacting me and getting help. So, if you, I'm going to go ahead and start with Chapter 8, but if you need help with Chapter 6 and you're watching this later, you can always email me. We still have some time. We still have 1, 2, 3, well, I guess if you count this week, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of class, and then finals week is here. So I'll stop accepting assignments on the 16th and corrections. So don't, if you got stuff outstanding, don't wait till the last minute to do it. Alright, so let's take a look here at the first assignment in Chapter 8, double number. Alright. Create a program from the preceding pseudocode. Remember that data types don't need to be declared in function parameters. That's weird. Why would they say that? Don't forget to add a blank line after the code section in each step to improve your program's readability. Alright. So what was this function? Number doubler. Call a module to double a number. Okay, so they're calling it a module here, but they're just talking about functions. Okay. Ask for a number to double. You tell it, it calls it. Okay, that's kind of boring. So let's do something different than that, but similar. And as I'm doing this, as always, you guys can ask me questions in the chat or email me later. It's fine. All right, so when we talked about Chapter 8, we talked about how to create a function in JavaScript and what the different parts are and how to use it. So let's think of something. Have we generated random numbers in JavaScript? Remember. Oops. If not, that's something we should have learned early on. Just it makes things a lot more interesting. Okay, now I feel like we have math.random. All right. Maybe we didn't. Here we go. Probably we didn't, but correct me if I'm wrong. Or maybe you have used it before. Let me know if you guys can hear me, because I was messing around with my settings over the weekend. Okay. So we can use this math object or math class to generate some random numbers. The way you use it, though, is a little obtuse. All right, did I miss? There it is. Okay. Not sure why that wasn't showing up. All right. And we can set this. Okay, there we go. Let's try a little bit bigger. Okay. So this function here generates a number between 1 and 10. So if we run it, we get a different number every time, or we get a random number every time, a pseudo-random number. All right, so with that we can do a lot of fun stuff, just to make something here and there. All right, so let's create some functions to use that we can do with this. So let's see, because the one where it wants you to double a number, let's see, okay, is it as simple as just compute and display the result? Okay, it doesn't even want you to return it. Okay. They're creating the function here. Okay. So let's create a function that will function to choose a number for the computer. We'll make like a little try to guess the number thing, and then we'll write a function that will ask the user to guess and write a function to show the result. And we can write a function to, well, I don't think we'll need another one after that. All right. And so we'll keep this code here because we'll need this. So we want to write a program that will use functions to make a number guessing game. All right. And we'll be able to reuse these functions for other things. So let's see. Function to choose a number for the computer, 1 to 10. Okay, and so we'll call this, oops, wrong language. Function 1 to 10. All right. And we want one that takes in the user input, and it will return whatever they enter as an integer. We'll call it guess. And then a function to show the result. We'll call that about result. All right. And then we can create a function called guessing game to hold all these. So, function to choose a number for the computer, 1 to 10. So it's going to, when this function is called, it's going to return a random number between and including 1 to 10. Okay, and the way that works is up here in this function, math.floor, what that does is it rounds a decimal number down to the nearest integer. So if you had 1.9, it would round it to 1. If you had 1.1, it would round it to 1. So it'll always round down, basically. It gets to the floor. All right. And then inside of that function, we're calling math.random, which returns a number between 0 and 1. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Math.random. So this is what math.random returns. It returns a random number between 0 and 1. Okay. And it uses, you can use that number to generate or to convert it into whatever you need. So if you need 1 to 100, you can just multiply this by, if you need 1 to 10, you can just multiply this by 10 like they're doing here. And what would that give you here? If you multiplied this by 10, what number would that be? It would be, the decimal place would just move to the right. It would be 9.057 yada yada. And so that would be, if we just multiplied it by 10, that would be 9.057 yada yada. But if we round that down by using math.floor, then it becomes 9, right? So let's do this a step at a time so you guys can see this. We'll do my num equals math.random. And then we'll print out my num. Okay, so in this case, if we got that random number would be 0.79. Okay. But we want to get an integer, so we multiply, well, we want an integer that's 1 or greater, so we can multiply it by 10. So 972 becomes 9.72. Okay, that makes sense. What number would it have to be to get 10 if we wanted 10 in there? Because you're not going to get to 10 with this. Because it would have to, this random number would have to be 1 point whatever, but math.random only returns a number between 0 and 1. So it's never going to return 0. It's never going to return 1. Always a number between. So if we get 0.0 something, that's when it will be 0. And every other number we can get all the way up to 9. But we will never get 10. We'll only get 0 through 9. So what if I want 1 through 10 and not 0 through 9? What would you do? Because we want the person to guess between 1 and 10, not between 0 and 9. So how can we change the number that gets resulted from being from 0 to 9 to 1 to 10? And it's kind of given away here. That's what this +1 is for, right? So if I take the number and I add 1, to the result here. So order of operations is really important here. And it will give me the it'll never, why would it never be able to give me 0 now, do you think? In this case, there are limited options. It's good to know exactly what is capable with what you're doing. So if we're getting a number between 0 and 1, and we multiply it by 10, we're going to get a number between 0 and including 9, but not including 10, right? If we want to start at a higher point than 0, we just have to change this number. We could even go lower. So now it can only be -1 to 8. And if we want it to be 10 to 20, we could go like this. There's a 10. We might have to put 11 in here to get to 20. How many times do you guys want me to run this before I get 20? Well, we could use a for loop. So we could do, actually it would be easier to do a while loop. So we want to see how many times this will run before it generates a 20. So we'll say while this, we have to put the math.floor to round it down. Math.floor times 10 plus 11. We'll set this to a new variable. We'll just call it checkNum. And since we're going to be using this, it's not equal 20. We'll have to set it outside. Whoops. Let checkNum. Start it at 0, just so it'll start the loop. But then when it runs, it's going to generate a new random number, and then it's going to multiply it. We don't need these on right now. It's going to multiply that number times 10 plus 11, excuse me, to generate a random number between that area. And we want to be able to keep track of how many times the loop ran, how many random numbers it had to generate before we got to 20. So we'll say let count equal 0, and then here it will add 1 to count. Until it hits 20. Okay. Oh, and then we have to print that out. So console.log count. So that time it took 5, it had to generate 5 random numbers before it found 20. 4, 2 times. That time took 18 times before it got 20. All right, and so let's see if we did it 10 times. If we wanted to find 20 10 times, how many? What the numbers would be for that. So we could put this in a for loop. I want to say we want it to run 10 times. So we're going to start at 0, and we want to do while I is less than 10. That'll make it run 10 times, and we increment by 1. Okay. And then we want to put the entire while loop around all of this. I'm sorry, put the for loop around everything. And we are in the script file, so we can use the format document to get it all lined up right. All right, let's get rid of this. So what we have here is a program that is going to run a loop 10 times, and inside of that loop it is going to generate random numbers until it generates a 20, and it will count how many times that it took to get to 20 for each of the 10 times. So let's count. We'll tell it which which step it is. So we'll say I. We'll do step I. Whoops. We'll put a little semicolon there. Whoops, I mean a colon space. And we'll add the number. Numbers. Okay. And so now we can see, whoops. I'm doing something wrong. Oh. Changing that in here. Oh, and we want to see this. All right. And so when this program runs, whatever it's using to generate the random number, it is using for every time the random number is created. So every time it runs this while loop, it's generating this random number off the same value. Let me see if this does anything. Nope. So let's go. Looping through random numbers can be tricky. That tells you how to generate one random number, but it doesn't talk about implementation selects the initial seed. And so what that means is whatever number it uses to generate the random number, if you use that same seed, you're always going to get the same random number. Okay. No. something. I think we can do this. This will work. If we just multiply the number times what? Let's see what happens if we multiply it by I. I feel like I ran into this problem before, and it's confusing how to fix it. Okay. Well, now I think I created an infinite loop. I probably made it so that you can't actually get 20. So I think what we want to do is we need a function that will take two numbers and always result in a number between 0 and 1. Let's see what you guys are saying. Okay. Hopefully this sheds some light on what's going on. So again, as you're looking at this, make sure you, if you have questions or something doesn't make sense, even though I'm adding an extra layer of complication by trying to use random numbers in here. Let's go to Stack Overflow, JavaScript, generating the same random number. Okay, it is not possible. Okay. Okay. It's seeded based on the current time. So when I run it, it uses that time for every math.random call. And so unless there is some wait, something stopping it from generating the number before time passes. Okay. Ooh, that's complicated. Oh, modulus, that's what we need. Derp. So we need this to be, I don't think modulus can return a number between 0 and 1 though. Oh, okay. I know now. We use modulus on the result. So instead of putting the I here, okay, now it's coming back to me. For check num, we will because that is where it's going to check if it's 20. So we can do I here. And then we just need to do all of this stuff. And then we'll just do mod. Let's try mod 20. That'll give us 0 to 19, I think. See if we infinite loop again. So in this case, it might be helpful to see what is happening as it generates the numbers. So I'll give you guys this little tip on how to see what's going on in a loop. You can see the iterations. So let's go ahead and we want to do a within the innermost loop, we're going to print out what it thinks it's doing, or what we told it to do, so that we can see if we told it to do the wrong thing. And so let's see what checknum is every time before it, or just to see if it's getting close to 20, or what it's even getting. All right, and then I think if we do a there, it's not even getting in there. Okay, let's just make sure Replic's not screwing up. Oh, it looks like it might still be messing up from the last infinite loop. When you're messing with loops, you may have to refresh the browser a few times in between doing things, especially if you make an infinite loop. Alright, that's not going to work either, because it won't stop. Oh, we can do this. And if you do get stuck in an infinite loop, you can just refresh the page. If you have a prompt in there and it keeps asking you over and over again, it's obvious that it's an infinite loop. If you hit run and it takes, more than a few seconds to run, it's probably doing a bunch of stuff, because the computer can do billions of things a second, and we're not really asking it for much here. So let's see. I guess we should title this episode messing around with JavaScript or the stream. All right, how can I get this to do this? Oh, we need to give it a within the while loop another way for it to break out. So we can use an or, and we can do or sentinel equals x. We'll do out here, let sentinel equal empty string. And down here we can put sentinel equals whatever we input. So we can run it, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then that should stop it. Okay, why is that not stopping it? Okay, while, does not equal. Okay, my bad. Oh, I have to do it 10 times. I see. Oh, that's not working either. We're taking in the input here. It should be coming up. And while checknum does not equal 20, so it's obviously not generating 20. Yeah, so we got to put that as not equals. Okay. Which it should have been working before that. Okay. Wow, checknum is not 20. Or x is, or I'm sorry, sentinel is not x. So let's just try x. Okay. Logic is really confusing with knots. So let's try it around. Let's change it around. Or let's try breaking it down so we know what we're checking here. So with an or, that means they would actually both have to be false for it to be false. So maybe we need to use an and here. And then in that case, there it goes. Okay. So it only ran one time for each one, and it should be printing out check num. Oh, there it is. 11. So it generated the number 11. Okay. Let's see what we can get here. So we'll generate a bunch. And we'll stop it. And so, oh, it only generated 11 every time. That's weird. Okay. Oh, well, the first one is multiplying by 0 anyway, so we don't want that. This is becoming a mess. I'm going to pump the brakes on this here in a second. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now we got it. Okay, so now I can take out this prompt, and it should run correctly. Except it probably will never be. Oh, I got to take out this condition too. Do I? So when it gets to 20, you should set that one to false, and then it should break it. Okay. And so it looks like it can't get to 20. Let's try to figure out. Oh, that's because I need to mod by 21, I think, if I want to include 20 as an option. Okay. Now. And it's just still doing the same problem. Okay. Anyway, we'll pump the brakes on this and go back to what we were trying to do. So I'm going to rename this so I remember myself to go back and generating multiple random numbers, question mark, and then we will copy this, should have copied it first then changed the name, but oh well. Chapter 8 examples. I guess I'll go ahead and post both of these links in the chat here, so you guys can mess around. What did you guys think of that so far? I'm realizing now why it wouldn't have you use random numbers in JavaScript. Or has it done that? Remind me. I can't remember off the top of my head. Because we definitely did in the Python class, but I can't remember if we did in this class. And as I'm using it, I'm not sure. But if we only need to generate one random number each time, then it should be simple. Okay, I can't let it go. Wait, that's not working. For blah, for j. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to do. And they are getting this result, and I don't know if it's maybe replit that's causing this. Let's try moving it over to, let's see, did I even post this in chat? Yeah, I'll post the other one too. They're probably just going to stay the same. But anyway, just in case I do change one, you can check it out. So, let's try putting this in. Oops, not that. Oh, I guess I can. So, in Replit, you can just download a whole thing here. I'm going to get all three of these files in a zip. We'll just stick it in documents. And I'll make one called logic. I'm just going to just put all three of those in a compressed folder, and then I can just extract that and go to it, I guess. Logic. Okay, and then let's open it in Notepad++. Okay, and now I guess I should have opened, well, I can edit the code here if I need, and we'll go ahead and open the HTML file too. So now up here I have script.js, index.html. So, and this is outside of Replit now, so let's try running it in Chrome. So I will open with Chrome. And I still have the output in the console, so I gotta switch over to that. Nope, it's still giving the same problem. Let's try copying that guy's code from this example. See if that does something useful. Here's the thing, I'm just trying to find something that works. That way I can try to understand it. Right now I haven't got it to do what I want based on what I know. Alright, so what's different about this one than the other one? Oh, I see. Maybe. So let's take a look at what this does. Break it down. So it will, oh, it's a for loop within a for loop. So the first for loop is saying, okay, run this 20 times. And then within the inner for loop, run it as many times as we have whatever random number is generated here. That's how many times we're going to run this. And so we're going to basically generate 20 random numbers, 0 to 20, or 0 to 19, I guess. Okay, let's try 1,000 instead of 20. Let's see if we get a 19. Oh, can I search in here? There are no 19s. Let's try it again. No 19s. I'm not sure if we can even search in here. Oh, we're not getting anything. Oh, there's an 11. Let's see if we can see that 11. Yep. Okay. Can we see a 12? Yes. Can we see a 13? There are no 13s. Try it again. Okay. So math.floor of this times 20 should be 0 to 19. Let's move this up here. You could use this to generate numbers infinitely and never get a 19 statistically. But if I'm doing 1,000 numbers every time, you'd think eventually I'd get a 19. So instead of trying to find it manually, let's have the computer look for it for us. Let's see if you guys are getting... No one's saying anything, so let me know if I'm boring you with this. I'm just trying to entertain myself at this point. Okay. So instead of running it 1,000 times, let's run it until we get a 19. So we'll just comment out this, and we'll put it in a while loop. While count does not equal 19. This is leading me to believe you can't get to 19, which is weird. What did we see? We saw a 12. Let's try that. Let's go until we see a 12. Alright. So, generated a lot of... Oh, there's a 13. Let's try 13. Well, we know it's 13. Let's try 14. Why can't this generate... Okay, can generate a 14. Can it generate a 15? Yes. Can it generate a 16? I'm just trying to find where it will stop. Okay, there's a 16. 117? Probably not. Let's generate a 17. This leads me to believe it's not it can't generate a 17. Are they using I down here? No. Times 20. Oh. That'll be 10. That'll move it into 1 to 9 and then multiply that by 2. Oh. Oh, wait. Did I just not see that right? Oops, this one. No, it's not that one. Uh-oh. He got mad. Maybe Replic's getting tired of me just crashing the VMs. Or whatever this environment is that we need. Alright, let's try it again, but we'll just close this one entirely. Okay, and we'll get rid of some of this stuff. I like this example. I'm actually going to save this example for now to try to understand what they're doing. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. Let's try this link. And what was I doing? We were going to try... Oh, I was going to look at the number here. Okay. Random times 20. And so in his example, with what we copied, he only got lower numbers. But then when he added the 1, he got up to 19. Oh, here we go. In the inner loop. Oh, okay. So he's actually changing it every iteration. Okay. So they're not... So if we move this up into a variable and take it out of the for loop here, get rid of that. It's much easier, or much harder to read this code when it's wrapped, huh? There we go. Which is easy to fix if you don't need to zoom in. But I want to make sure everyone can see this. Okay. So we want to take this out of here. And we want to make an extra step here where we can store this in a variable. This may be why I was running into the problem that I was having. Okay, so now it's generating 0 to 19. Let's check if we can get a 19 with this. Yes, we can. Okay. And so the mistake he had made was, well, you need to understand how a for loop works to understand that. So if you think you know, pause real quick and post what your theory is of why it's not working. Because now I'm going to explain why that wasn't working. And I still don't know why the other one I made wasn't working, but this one is. So I'll have to go back and compare that. Bonus points if you figure out what I was doing wrong in the first code that I posted. But I guess I'll go ahead and post this one too, so you can compare. I'm doing a good job of going over the assignments, right? Well, I only got one comment on that from Alex, so let me know, Alex, if this is helping at all or just making it worse. Wait, did I even post it? Yes, I did. Okay. So, how is this for loop working? Let's go back to the way it was. So why this is weird is, and I don't want to run it right now because we know it'll break, but what it's doing is it's setting up the for loop, it's starting it at 0, and it's going to go until it gets to, well, actually, it's starting at 0, and then the condition will be generated right here. So let's say it generates 5. Then 0 is less than 5, so it will go in to the loop, raise count by 1, and then come back up here, add 1 to j, so j is now 1. It'll say is 1 less than, and it generates a new random number. And so this is generating a number between 0 and 19, but until basically if it doesn't generate a 19 in the first 19 iterations, it'll never be able to generate a 19. Because I did notice in the results that the lower numbers felt like it was having a harder time generating higher numbers. So, that's really weird. Anyway, doing it this way makes absolutely no sense. It's not going to give you, I'm trying to think, I can't think of an instance where doing this would be useful. But, you know, it's complicated, so there may be a use for this. But if we just want to generate numbers between 0 and 19, this isn't what we want. What we want is to generate the random number and store it. I think I just realized what was wrong with the other one. And it's probably because he was using let. Hey, Vincent. Well, I was going to try to create a guessing game function where the computer chooses a number and then you put inputs in until you guess the number, just to show how to use random and another example of functions. And then it turned into me trying to just generate a random number. Okay. Was it this one? Oh, these are the same anyway. So I think the error I made on this is, if I can remember, plus count, generating a random number. I'm adding 1 to it. I'm seeing if it's not 20, and it'll keep going. Okay. It was probably just this, honestly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but why didn't it? This was the problem. Why it was generating the same random number in here. Yeah, I'll have to look at the difference between those. Okay, now that we have this working. Oop, and I just broke it. Okay, now that we have this working, here's how you would generate. Well, now I broke it. Okay, generate this, and then line 5. This line. Oh, I didn't put in the actual number we're comparing it to. Okay. So here's how I can generate some random numbers. And so right now I have it set to generate random numbers until we generate a 17. But we want to generate, let's say we just want to generate 10 numbers, random numbers. We can do this. Okay. And then we could put this in a function we'll redeem this now. Function print 10 random. And then since we're in the JavaScript file, again, we can format to fix all the indentations. Okay, I wouldn't have it like this though, I'd put it in like this. I don't know why it wants to do that. Okay, maybe replicates. Oh, it's because I have this extra one here. There we go. And so now I just have a function that can, if every time I call this function, I can print 10 random numbers. Okay, so if I call it once, print 10 random numbers. And then if I call it twice, whoops, print random 10, whoops, 10 random. How many is it going to generate? Well, 10 here and 10 here. Okay. What if I wanted to write a function that would give me any number of random numbers? So I can add a parameter in the function definition to hold whatever value we want to use as the number. So we can call that, I'll just call it choice. And so in here where we're checking, this is the number of numbers we're going to generate. You can put choice in there. And so this is confusing if we have to keep going in here and change the number. But since we're passing it in here, now if we ever need to use this, I'm going to change the name. If we want to print one random number, we can do this. If we want to print 500 random numbers, we just do this. Okay, and if we want to adjust the range of numbers, we could add another variable, and we'll call it range. And that's this right here.
Set a timer.
Okay. And now we can do, I want to generate 5 random numbers, 0 to 3. Okay, so 0, 1, 2. Let's say I want to print 5 numbers, 0 to 100, or 90. It'll go to 99. Okay. Is this making any sense now that I've kind of figured it out myself, so I can explain it a bit better? Alright, so now that I've thoroughly confused you, the only important part of this for the assignment is creating a function. I was just trying to use something more interesting than doubling a number. So, and they give you the code for that anyway for that assignment. Let me quickly just look at what the other one is that you won't have the answer to from the book. And that was on page 324. They want you to write, we have plenty of time before this is due, so I'll be more focused on this specifically next time. So make sure you bring questions, because we've gone through all the material for the course. I'm just going to be giving you help on these things and you know, trying to show you different extra things. Alright, so which one was it? It was 8.2 arithmetic functions. Okay, so 8.1 has you write the pseudocode. You don't have to do that. You can skip straight to writing the JavaScript in this case. So you want a program that asks the user for 2 numbers, okay, and then sends these 2 numbers as arguments to 4 arithmetic functions: addition, multiplication, division, and modulus. The function should return the values to the calling module. Okay, so we have that already in this example. we can ask for, instead of passing in two numbers and getting the addition, subtraction, or the sum, the difference, the result of the division, and the product, which I guess is what you call it when you multiply. Instead of doing that, in this one, we are asking for how many numbers they want to generate and what the range is. Okay, but we're not returning anything here. So instead of printing this out, I guess I can show you a return real quick here. We'll call it return 1. Oops. Return 1. And so now, let's not call this function for now. And if we do console.log, so now I'm going from something really complicated to the simplest example I think that I could come up with. And so if we did this, what do you think would print out? This would be the last thing I go over. Okay, so if I run this function down here and output it, I'll go a step easier here too. We'll go let x equal return 1. Okay, and then we'll just print out x. So we're going to run this function, take what it returns, store it in x, and then print that out. So it should print out 1. Okay, so instead of returning 1, let's try this. Return number. We'll give you an example with a parameter. MyNum. Oops. Return number. This is where we need MyNum. And so we can pass in any number here. And print out x. Let's say we want to print out 7, or you want to print 12. We got that. Okay. So that's, you know, this isn't useful at all, but it is every part that you would need for that. And so instead of returning, you would do something with it here. So maybe we can do MyNum equals MyNum plus 1. And so if I put 1, it'll print, whoops, why did it print 11? Because we forgot this. Right. Because it was passing in a string. So 1 should show me 2. Okay, so that should help with that. And you know, if you get stuck, you can always email me questions. Just when you email me, make sure you send me the Replit link for your code, and I can take a look at it and give you some direct comments. All right, well, if your brains are fried, take a break. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Have a good day, folks.